Hey, everyone. I'm really glad you're here today because we're diving into a topic a lot of people are talking about right now, President Trump's idea to send $2,000 checks to working-class Americans using money collected from tariffs. It's a big, bold proposal, but it's also getting a surprisingly chilly reaction from some Republican lawmakers. So let's break it down together, and as always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments as we go. So here's the basic idea. President Trump wants to take the billions the government is collecting from tariffs, basically taxes on imported goods, and redirect that money into direct payments for low- and middle-income Americans. The concept is simple. Tariffs bring in revenue, and instead of that money disappearing into government budgets, it comes right back to the people in the form of a $2,000 check. Sounds appealing, right? Especially with cost of living issues still hitting so many households. But here's the first big speed bump. The president can't just send out checks on his own. Congress would have to pass a law approving the payments and deciding exactly how the tariff revenue is used. And right now, Congress, specifically Republicans in Congress, isn't very sold on the idea. Many GOP lawmakers are raising concerns about the national debt, which is already hovering around $36 to $37 trillion. Their argument is basically, why spend more money when we're already drowning in debt? And some of them fear this could feel too much like a new government spending program at a time when they want to tighten the budget, not expand it. Then there's the inflation concern. Some economists and lawmakers are worried that putting a big chunk of cash in people's pockets could boost spending at a time when supply constraints still exist in certain sectors. And when demand rises faster than supply, prices go up. So the debate becomes, would these checks help people, or would they just heat up inflation again? Let me ask you this. If you personally were offered a $2,000 check funded from tariffs, would you take it even if it carried a small risk of adding to inflation? Or would you prefer the government use that tariff revenue in another way, like reducing debt or lowering taxes? I'm really curious how people feel about that. Another issue is the stability of the revenue source itself. Tariffs can be unpredictable. They're vulnerable to legal challenges, policy changes, and economic shifts. If the incoming money drops, then suddenly the program doesn't have enough fuel to keep running. And lawmakers don't want to promise Americans a $2,000 check now only to say, actually, sorry, never mind, later. Politically, this proposal is fascinating. On one hand, it's classic populist messaging from President Trump, linking trade policies directly to household benefits. It tells voters, these tariffs are working for you. On the other hand, some Republicans see rebate checks as edging surprisingly close to redistribution policies they've typically opposed. And that internal tension is creating a quiet but real split inside the party. So, what happens next? A few possibilities. Congress could get behind the idea and pass a version of the plan, maybe with income caps or different amounts. They could also scale it down to something smaller or more targeted. Or the whole thing could stall out if lawmakers simply can't agree, or if the revenue becomes too uncertain to rely on. It really depends on how both the economic and political winds shift over the next few months. For everyday Americans, this could go in multiple directions. If the plan goes through, a $2,000 check could make a meaningful difference for a lot of families. But if lawmakers push back hard enough, it might end up as more of a symbolic proposal than an actual policy people see in their bank accounts. And, depending on how the debate unfolds, it could shape how Republicans talk about spending, tariffs, and working-class voters heading into the next election cycle. So, what do you think? Do you see this plan as a helpful, creative way to use tariff revenue? Or do you think it's a risky move that might create more problems than it solves? I'm really interested in where you stand on this, so drop a comment below and let's talk about it. Thanks so much for spending some time with me today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button. It really helps the channel out, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. Share this video with someone who might find it interesting, and I'll see you in the next one.